Hi, my name is Lindy Cowling. Welcome to this channel. My website is www.lindycowling.co.uk. My email is info@lindycowling.co.uk. And the title of this short, hopefully it'll be short, video is the connection between love and life force. The connection between love and life force. So if we talk about love, let's talk about love. Feel like an agony aunt. If we start from the energetic perspective of love and we talk about love, the easiest way to have an example here would be like when somebody falls in love with us and we fall in love with them in return. So reciprocal love between two human beings. And let's talk about the early days of that love. So what people term the honeymoon period, when two people meet one another, there's this instant connection, instant attraction, instant dynamic, instant chemistry, instant hormonal reaction, it could be instant soul reaction, spirit reaction, it could be right across the board, all of those things or some of those things. And they, what we call in human language, they fall for one another. So in those early weeks or early months, or even in that first year or so, what we term as the honeymoon period, when they are inseparable, they want to be with each other every possible moment, they could talk for hours, they feel happy and they feel alive. And the energetic perspective of that, which I'm going to get into now, is why they feel so alive and like they have been plugged into the mains again. Why they feel like they have spent their whole life walking about semi-comatose, and then they meet this person and suddenly they come alive. They feel their life force surging through them, love force surging through them. One and the same thing. So let's get into that on an energetic perspective. When I say we as human beings are faced with someone that mirrors to us the optimum and the optimal vibration of our cells, the optimal vibration of our frequency, what happens on a energetic, from an energetic point of view, is the cells basically they light up. And you will often see people in the early days of like falling in love, they are lit up. I mean, they could light up the national grid. They're glowing, they are alive. All the cells in their body, basically, everything speeds up. Their energy expands, their cells expand, and when they are in that state, rather than the perspective of the honeymoon period is the false period and then the reality hits them afterwards, it's actually the other way round. The honeymoon period is the reality, because the honeymoon period is the optimal and optimum state of life force, reminder of your own life force at that time that many people have in a lifetime. So it might be, if they encounter that once or twice in a lifetime, or 3 times in a lifetime, or however many times, often that is one of the main ways they get to look inside their own being and at themselves and at their own soul, if they will dig that deep, to recognize who they are. And that state of happiness, and that state of being alive, and that state of euphoria, and that state of everything being vivid and bright, and all the colours being bright, and the sounds being acute, and everything feeling wonderful, and you functioning at your best, your health improving, everything falling into place, amazing synchronicity. That honeymoon period is actually you in your optimum reality. And that honeymoon period is not supposed to be a period of time. That honeymoon period is supposed to be every single day of our lives. Every day, every week, every month, every year. The point I'm trying to make here is when you get to meet someone that mirrors to you the frequency of love, and it is reciprocated. And in some people, you know, I could laugh and say it's reciprocated for a short while. That's why people are around each other, then they go apart, you know, they fall in love for 5 minutes and they're not in love. But also you can have the whole spectrum, you know, the real great love and all the Romeo and Juliet. You can get everything along the spectrum, you know, to a casual thing right the way to very, very serious, right the way to something, you know where I'm going. I'm applying to all ends of the spectrum here. Is that in that moment that the energy and the frequency of love is activated within you, because it is seen in you by another, and you can see it in them, and you're reciprocating it. So there's this dance of energy. Your life force, which is all part of this, I'll get into that in a minute, is at its highest. And what literally happens to the cells and the life force and the love force are one and the same, which is why people feel so fantastic, like I say, and so alive and so plugged in and like they've just woke up for the first time ever, is because in those moments they actually become fully conscious. Now, before I go any further on that, I'm going to get into that, because some people would say, hold on a minute, when people fall in love, they're less conscious than they ever are. I mean, they just go off their heads and they do things that they would never have normally done, and they kind of can't think straight, and they're acting differently. Well, they can't think straight because they're feeling straight. They're feeling straight. It's true, their logical head isn't functioning the same way, because 95% of our logical head is programmed. It's pre-programmed and comes through the subconscious. I know this from 17 years hypnotherapy training and NLP. So most of the head is programmed. So when they have the connection of love, and I'm talking about love here, not lust, not rumpy-pumpy, not saying there isn't lust or rumpy-pumpy in love. What I'm talking about here is, I'm talking about the energy of love, not a knee-jerk reaction from the base chakra down, and a bit of how's your father, how we say over here. I'm talking about the frequency of love. And the reason that they feel, like I say, all these things where their actual chemical process speeds up, their metabolism speeds up, everything speeds up. They feel alive, they feel youthful, they look youthful, they look much younger. A lot of their ailments or sickness mysteriously disappears, or it's alleviated greatly. They've got all this energy. They're lit up. Like I say, their whole perception changes. What is happening there is the love force and the life force, one and the same thing, intricately, can't even say it, it's all that love, entwined with one another, kind of like surges through the whole system, that's chemically, emotionally, hormonally. Look, I'm so excited I can't get the words out. Right the way through the system. And if you are, let's say, lucky enough, or sometimes unfortunate enough, to connect with someone on a soul level or a spiritual level, depending on what you want, these effects are even more greatly amplified, because you have the woo-woo side of it as well sometimes. So the effects are even more greatly amplified. What this is it's the whole system. You're plugging into the mains again. Instead of being on standby like a computer and ticking over on your subconscious, you are at that time fully conscious. So I'm gonna fly in the face of what I think what has always been said, actually, where people like they kind of in that period of time, they kind of don't know what they're doing or who they are, or and then they go back to being their real selves again. Actually, I think they've got it all arse about face. I think they're who they truly are when they experience life force and love force. And we're all supposed to be in a state of life force and love force all the time, every day, regardless of whether we have a person or people mirroring that back to us intensely, dancing around energy with us, whether we are completely on our own, whether we are connecting into the love force and life force in other ways by wonderful things we love, like music. I mean, creative things are fantastic to activate love force and life force more than any other thing, creative things, apart from relationships and relating with other people. So any of the creative endeavors, the arts, the writing, the performing, the creating, the humanitarian, all of that kind of side of thing is going to be connecting you in with your life force and your love force. Also, again, nature, because nature is obviously life force. Nature is life force and love force at its best. All nature is life force and love force at its best. That's why when you get into nature, you can feel almost like a euphoria and well-being, because it plugs you back into your love force and your life force, which are one and the same frequency. That is why when people perceive they are in the absence of love, and we've all been there and we've all been through it, when they have fallen in love with someone and that person isn't with them, or that person has died, or they've broken up with that person, or all the different scenarios, in that absence of that person who they genuinely miss for their characteristics and everything else, but a huge chunk of what they miss is the actual how much they loved them. That's why people in the absence of that, they really go through it, and their life force, it kind of wanes a little bit as it turns down a bit, and they feel really sad and they're going through those emotions. They can look older, their ailments can return, there can be other things going on, their metabolism slows down, everything is much sorry, my face is tickling as I'm not channeling this, but sometimes it gets all tickly when I'm talking like this. So that love force and life force. So they look young, they look older again, they look heavier, the metabolism slows down again, they're going through a process of grieving, and they feel the absence of love force and life force. And it's when one or the other kicks back in, either the love force, well, it's the same thing, their zest for life comes back, that they suddenly they light up again and they look better, they feel better, they respond better, they're having better relationships. That life force and love force, it doesn't matter which way round it comes, whether they find that love for other things in their life or that love for themselves, or they plug back into the life force, it's one and the same thing. It's the same thing. It's all intricately connected. And in that optimum state, so for people that haven't been doing a dance with a soulmate or a twin flame or something like that, that optimum state we call as human beings the honeymoon period, which lasts again for weeks, months or years. If you're talking about the same kind of thing, but slightly more exaggerated, or in some cases vastly more exaggerated if the spiritual energy is running the show as well in the connection, that period of time we can call that time a period of bliss. I used to call it the room 2 phase, because when I went through that years ago, it was in a room called room 2 with a connection I was with at that time. It's most commonly called the bubble in the so-called twin flame world. So it's the same thing we're talking about here, but different intensities of it. And it is when that life force is surging through us. And life force and love force, if we can agree that it's the same thing interwoven, we could push it a little bit further here and say life force and love force are source. That's another car sticker. That's another car sticker there. Life force and love force are source. I feel like that film Forrest Gump, you know, when Tom Hanks played Forrest Gump and he's doing the long distance running bit. And I'm going to swear here, so put your fingers in your ears. And then he treads in, he's been running miles as this long distance runner. I love that film, actually. It makes me cry like a baby, the end of it every time. And he treads in dog shit. And then someone's running with him who wants an idea for a t-shirt, and he says, shit happens. And then the man makes loads of money out of the t-shirts. Shit happens. I'm always coming out with these little sayings. I think I ought to look into that and market it. And that made me think of that. I've sidetracked a bit here. Anyway, life force and love force, source. So because they are source, which is you at your very heart, the heart of you, your purity, your energy, your spirit, your essence, your soul, it is uncorrupted, unprogrammed, uncontaminated, most powerful, masterful self. If you can, or we can recognize that, and that is the actual source energy, that is, well, that is amazing. That is absolutely amazing, because that is the state that everybody strives for. You see, apart from missing the people or the person that we love, is a huge part of what us as human beings miss, is that amazing feeling of it, the amazing feeling of source, the amazing feeling of being alive, the amazing feeling of life, the amazing feeling of love. And there are many other ways to get back to that amazing state. I know because I've seen it all over the world in clients, and I know because I've done it myself countless times. And it's, like I say, it's an amazing thing because it's us at our optimum best. It's us actually fully conscious. And I brought out a video just at the beginning of January. I think it was at the beginning of January, saying the year of being fully conscious, because this is the year to be fully conscious and awake to these things. And so if you're lucky enough in a way to then meet people in your life that mirror that life force, that love force, source, all one and the same back to you, and you reciprocate it for a period of time and you dance around with it, or a period of months, a period of years, or for the rest of your life, where you are able to keep balancing that state and still feel alive, and the honeymoon, let's call it the honeymoon period again, it doesn't fade away, the bubble doesn't fade away. You actually maintain that balance and continue to expand on it. So you're feeding one another, you're bouncing off one another, you mirror into one another, you're growing with one another, you're expanding with one another. Life force is flowing through, life force flows through and exudes from you. Love force flows through and exudes from you. Life force, love force, source. If you get to that point where you are able to do that in a relationship format, or do it entirely on your own, entirely singly, entirely on your own, reaching that state, then really, you've got it made. If you can do that, and I can't even really say if you can do that, it's when you can do that, because everybody can do this. It doesn't take away the reality of actually feeling love for the people that maybe aren't with you, or the pets that aren't with you, or the situation that's not with you. That's all real, that's all genuine. But it's realizing that your quantity of life elixir, life force, and your quantity of love elixir and source are all connected, like a triangle, really. They're all totally connected. In other words, there isn't one without the other. So it doesn't matter what angle you come at it, whether you come at it from finding love within yourself, getting love mirrored to you outside of you, finding a zest for life, getting life mirrored back outside of you, or finding a zest for source and getting source mirrored back outside of you. And it's all within you, don't forget. All of it is within and outside. It doesn't matter what entry point you have. They are all... Ooh, nearly knocked the thing down then. They are all connected. They are all connected. So I hope that made sense. It's really strange at the moment. I am not sleeping hardly at all. Getting somewhere between about 3 and 5 hours sleep a night. And I should really come on here about early hours of the morning, because early hours of the morning I've got loads of stuff coming to me, coming through me. Honestly, I could be on film all day, every day, and of course there isn't a practical time for that. This is something that I love doing, but I do this entirely freely. And by the way, thank you so much for your donations. But this is side of the work, that I've been doing for 3 years is entirely free, so I cannot. I don't have the time available, and I can't expend all my energy on doing this, much as I love it. But there are so many things. I could be talking all day and all night. So I just tend to go with what's the most pressing, or I feel more fired up to talk about at that time. So I do hope that made sense. It wasn't planned to do this. This came through at 4 o'clock in the morning, and I was going to kind of ignore it today, but then it's come back again. So I thought, oh no, I'll have a little chat about that. So whatever way you have of your entry point, whether it's focusing on the source that you are, focusing on the love that you are, focusing on life force, or all of them at once, all of them within, or outside and within, that all mirrors each other anyway. Whatever's going on inside mirrors outside anyway. It doesn't matter what entry point there is, because it all tracks back to, well, it's all interwoven. It's all interwoven. Life force, love force, source. And that's why when we are interacting with any of the above, all of the above, some of the above, that we feel fantastic. We usually look pretty good. We usually look younger. We are more healthy. We are happier. We are kind of magnetic. We exude those qualities, you know, because we are at our optimal best in those moments. And they're not designed to just be moments. They are designed to be 24/7. And I know it's going to take a while for us all to get there, because of the habits of being human, the programming of being human, sometimes the challenges of the world we live in and the situations we are in. But that is there. That's your own divinity. That's your own mastery, sitting there for us to access whenever we wish. On that note, before I start waffling, I will love you and leave you. Thank you, as always, for watching. I do appreciate it. Take care of yourselves until we meet again. Bye, guys. Bye.